Good
Hi.
morning.
Morning.
This is the Lowdown with Sheli Brown. I'm Sheli, and I have a wonderful guest host here today, Crystal from our compliance office. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good.
And it's Thankful
It
Thursday
is Thankful
and
Thursday.
it's Friday Eve, is what the news always says.
Friday Eve. I don't think I've heard that.
Yeah. They always say it's Friday Eve.
Friday Eve. I'm gonna start using that. It's never Thursday. It's Friday Eve. If you'll notice, we're missing Christy today. She is taking a day off. Yes, she does take days off. She does take days off. So we miss her today, but we'll see her back next week. It has been really busy around here.
Yes.
Super busy.
Very.
I don't know about you, but this week
Very.
has been chaotic.
Yes. And it's already almost the end of the week and it's already September 1st. And it's like, oh my gosh, Christmas is around the corner.
Yes.
School started, college started. Oh, it's too busy.
Well, and it's funny because I didn't even realize it. My husband said something yesterday, and I was like, "It's September 1." Like, I can't. Is it really September? Oh my goodness! So yes, we have the back to school. We've got Labor Day coming. We have Halloween, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. It all just kind of like runs together for the next
And
few
FedEx.
months. FedEx. So that's the topic. Our peak season around here is big, and we are seeing that kind of early this year because, in general, like in the industry, it's been really busy, just everywhere.
Well, and I think with all that COVID and the whole new way of the world, I guess you would call it, so many people shop online. I've never been a shop online. I like to
Really?
touch it, feel it, rub it, whatever you do with it. And now it's like, oh, I'll just go to Amazon. Oh, I'll just order online because I hate going to the store and waiting in the lines
Yes.
because nobody's there to check you out or you have to check out your own groceries. Well, it's horrible to even buy groceries, much less check them out and then unload them and put them up and all that. So I have become an online shopper with the rest of the world now.
I discovered it. I lived in Germany for a little while, and that's when I found out about Amazon. It was before Amazon Prime. I didn't have it. Like, it was before they did that. But then once they came out with that, if it's more than 2 days, I'm mad. And that's terrible. That's terrible that we have this expectation. But things have changed, obviously. And I think when you go into transportation, when you see the back end of that, you start to have new eyes and think of how much goes behind that. And it really does get you thinking about how grateful that we are for all of our truck drivers that are out there and how much they do and the efforts that they have behind just getting stuff to places. We talked about that last week, Christy and I. People think that it just shows up on a shelf, and that's just not what happens. So actually, we're prepping for National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. So
Awesome.
that's coming up the 12th through the 18th. And a lot of companies are celebrating that. I know we are ramping up for that as well. There's so much going on, free meals. I know Loves is doing some things. TA and Pilot are doing some things. People are giving away prizes.
Awesome.
There's so much to recognize, and we obviously try to do that throughout the year, but that week is really a big week for a lot of the nation because we try to recognize everybody during that week. There is actually a social media trend going right now that I found out this week, and it's hashtag NTDAW 2021. National Truck Driver Appreciation Week.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to think of what that was. That is a hashtag going around on Twitter and Facebook and social media, and they're showing different things that companies are doing as well as some things that are going on that our drivers can participate in. So if you're on social media, that's hashtag National Truck Driver Appreciation Week 2021. In addition, we've got benefits. That is huge, huge for HR. So we are very, very busy with that. This year, it's going to be the second or third week of November when we start all of that. And we ramp up right now, and we're getting ready for that so that it's ready for you guys to enroll into benefits.
So when they do that, if they're new, of course you can enroll, or if you chose not to take it when you first started, it's open enrollment to choose so now.
Yep.
But it's also where you can change benefits as well, right?
Yes.
Like if you want more or less, or it's the whole shebang.
It
Correct?
is.
Okay.
And it's the one time out of the year that you can do that. Because of regulation, that we can't just make changes mid-year unless there is a life event. So during this, what we call open enrollment, even if you don't have a life event, you can make any changes that you want to those benefits, and they go into effect. The changes or lack of changes, whatever, they go into effect January 1.
Is this medical only, or is it 401k? It's everything?
It's everything. Actually, 401k is a little different. 401k, you can make those changes at any time, and it goes into effect quarterly. So if you make any changes, either to reduce it or increase it, it goes into effect the first of the next quarter.
What about joining? If you weren't active in 401k, is that still just the yearly, or is it quarterly as well?
Quarterly as well. So
Okay.
if you ever wanted to participate in 401k, you can do that at any time. And you don't have to wait till the quarter to do that. You can do it within Paycom at any time. It just won't go into effect until the first of the next quarter.
Oh, that's good to know.
So our next enrollment period for that is actually October 1. So you want to make sure that you get all of those changes in there, so it'll go into effect October 1.
Perfect.
And then as far as the open enrollment, if you've signed on with us and you didn't get benefits at that time, but you're interested in getting in benefits, that's that time that you can do that. We do a ton of communication. A lot of people think, I'm going to forget. Don't worry about that. We remind you probably incessantly a little bit. Postcard, email, texts, fleet messages. There is going to be no way that you're not going to remember.
You'll be like, okay, Shelley, I got it the first time.
Yeah, I hear you. Please stop sending me stuff.
But word of mouth too. Maybe drivers don't go home quite as often, or they don't have a spouse or a loved one
Yes.
at home. They're out in the truck for most of the year. Word of mouth throughout the drivers helps as well. So
It does. So if you are talking to fellow drivers, reminding them is always helpful. That's really good. What about, do you like, because you've been in the industry for a little while, what do you like about Truck Driver Appreciation Week?
it just really pulls them out from just we're all family at BCB, and it takes all of us to make BCB, whether you are the producer or HR or a DM. If it wasn't for everybody, because everybody has a little piece in it, but it does pull them out and put them on a pedestal, saying that if it wasn't for the drivers, BCB wouldn't be BCB. The drivers half is the one on the front line, kind of like we say the Marines or the military.
Yes.
I mean, the drivers are the ones that's getting yelled at because they were late to the shipper, or the shipper's stuff isn't ready, or they're on the front line of BCB. So I think we should really recognize them on that part.
Absolutely, I agree. We talk about that quite a bit, and getting in preparation for that, we try to prep for that actually starting the week after the previous year. We start working on that right away, but it was interesting because this last week or so, trying to finalize details of what we are going to be doing for our drivers. I found some facts that I wanted to share that I thought were really interesting. And it may be, this is not news to any of you guys, but some of it was really interesting to me, so I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit. The fact is, truckers deliver about 10 billion tons of freight, or about 70% of all freight moved in the U.S. Obviously, I knew it was a lot, okay? But never in my, I guess my thought process was I thinking billions of freight. I couldn't fathom that until I saw it kind of in writing.
But I guess if you think about it, watching the morning show with Dave and James, like the ports are so backed up that they're waiting out there trying to unload, and then they showed the pictures of the ports, and it's just like I can't even imagine that many containers. Yeah. And then keeping up where that container should go.
Yes.
I would have it so messed up. I'd have New York going to Texas, and Texas to Florida. I mean, because that takes a science because they all look the same
They do.
and trying to get it on the right load to the right store. So I guess we just think, oh, we walk into Walmart and we get something, or we order off Amazon. But ultimately, it had to get there some way.
Yes.
So
I think it's just a testament to what our industry does as a supply chain in general. All of the hoops, we make it look seamless, so that the average consumer doesn't even realize how much effort went into that, until like stuff like that. The ports are all clogged up. You got COVID. All of these things bring to light that kind of stuff. So I did know this, but it was interesting, just to see it on paper. The average trucker will drive over 100,000 road miles per year. That works out to nearly 40 trips across the United States. And it's funny because I was telling my husband I wanted to take one trip across the United States at some point in our life, and they get to do that pretty regularly. So that was interesting. The average age of a truck driver is 49. So
that's a good number.
About 6% of the nation's truck drivers are women. We talked a little bit about this. We are participating with the Accelerate conference here in Dallas in November, and it highlights women in trucking. And what they're saying is the number is trending upwards about 10% per year. There's been a ton of studies that Women in Trucking has done that supports how valuable women in trucking is. And so we'll continue to support that. But I thought that was an interesting statistic. We have some really great women on our fleet as well. So 41% of the nation's truck drivers are minorities compared to 22% in all other jobs. So I thought that was a pretty cool statistic. And then this was really cool to me. Truck drivers can have many talents. These truckers went on to become actors. Can you guess who that list might be? And I'll give you guys a minute to think about that. And
I would have never guessed some of those ever.
Yes.
Ever.
So Sean Connery, Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley did a ton of stuff. He served in the military.
Yeah, he kind of was everywhere.
He was everywhere. And then he ended up being one of the most famous musicians of all time. Charles Bronson, Viggo Mortensen, which was a total shock to me. Liam Neeson, James Cameron. That was a big one.
I could not imagine.
Chevy Chase and Rock Hudson. So those are really cool people that I think their foundation was in trucking. So that was pretty cool. I thought I'd share that. Y'all might like that too. What was the next one?
Oh, a survey by Atlas Van Lines found truck drivers are big country western music fans. Nearly half of the truckers on the road listen to country western music. 1/3 listens to classic rock, and the rest listens to sports or talk radio. I do find this probably really accurate.
Yeah.
My husband drives a truck. He was only over the road small amount, but he's still in the industry. And oh, I hate doing road trips with him, but I bear it. I have my Facebook because we are sports and talk radio. I mean,
really?
He does listen. Western is his pick, and then he does the more of the classic rock, the 80s, 90s, you know. And sometimes I'm like, can we please listen to some music? Because it's talk radio. But, I mean, you do get very educated with it because you don't see the news. That is your news. But it's over. It's just repetition. And so after about 200 miles of it, I'm like, okay, we got to do something different.
You know, my father-in-law is a truck driver as well, and he is actually part of the classic rock section, 1/3. He grew up in the 70s, so it's 70s, 80s music. He's really big into that. But he is also huge on sports, and so sports radio is a big one.
Yeah.
And we take road trips, and he loves to drive. We love for him to drive. We don't have to worry about it. But he loves any sports on. That's what we're listening to.
Oh yeah. And I'll be like a month late. You know, I hear something on the news. Be like, yes, I'm gonna tell my husband. He'll be like, oh, I knew that a long time ago.
Yes.
I mean, he knows every draft, who's hurt, who's this, who's that, who's top
Yes.
batting average, who's throw this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know.
Well, and it's so funny because we might go out of the area, out of the Metroplex or whatever, and we'll go into another section, another radio station, and they'll have whatever sports on for that particular area, and he knows about that too. And I'm like, how are you following all that
That's how
stuff?
my husband is. I'm like, you got too much education. I just listen to my country music. I can't keep up with all this.
I think my husband and I really do like doing road trips as well. But we are very, very eclectic. We kind of listen to everything. It's whatever is on. From I think the only thing I really don't enjoy is maybe opera because I like classical music, but I don't
Like the screechy.
I don't like the opera. I don't know what it is about that, but I like everything else. You could put, you can get in a car with me, and it can go from A to Z. And so my playlist, you better be eclectic like me. The career field remains open for more heavy and tractor trailer drivers. The BLS estimates over 108,000 more will be needed by 2022. And let me say that right. 108,000. That's a lot that we're
That's
still
like
going to
as
need.
big as as many as a city.
Yeah.
Small cities.
Exactly. And there's already a shortage, but then they're estimating that we're going to need this additional on top of that. So I thought that was really.
And I think that COVID does have something to do with it. But if you really think about it, it doesn't, because whether there was COVID or not, we still had to get the merchandise or products from port to a store.
Yeah.
Whether it was CVS, Walmart, Amazon, whatever. I think our population has grown in the U.S. One, for people coming to the U.S. and becoming citizens. For two, people having 2, 3 kids, 4 kids, kind of a baby boom kind of thing going on. Just in general, our population grew. We didn't probably feel it so much until we went from 100% going to 0 when the COVID hit. You know, so
Yes.
we didn't gradually. We just kind of went from full force to 0, and so we're playing catch up. Well, it's hard to catch up when you have so much product at port that has to get out, but you only have so many trucks that can get in there.
So many trucks, so many hours. You know, there's just all of these factors that go into it.
So many ships that can get up to port.
That's right.
And then the second thing is COVID does have people that are ill or whatever. So our work industry that's outside of the trucking industry is very limited. Everywhere I go, there's signs begging for someone, whether it's at the coffee shop to eating places to Walmart to hair salons. It doesn't matter where you go. Everyone is needing people. And so at the port, if they're half staffed, that means half the loads.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so, and I'm sure like even the drivers going to Love's and stuff, I know there used to be 3 or 4 cashiers because we stopped there sometimes, you know, and now there's 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So everywhere you go, you just got to have patience and wait. I mean, the person in front of you is doing all they can do. And I know it's frustrating, especially on the driver's side of things, because they're hurt. They got to get there. I got to get fuel. I got to make my stop. But ultimately, we just got to take a deep breath and you know, be respectful to the person in front of you, because they're probably doing all they can do at that time and moment.
Absolutely. You know? And you bring up a good point about patience. We've all had to kind of learn a little bit of patience in general, just for day to day, but especially when it comes to the trucking industry. And now we've just recently had this hurricane that also impacted the industry south, you know, and there's always a ripple effect that goes with that. So it definitely is interesting what this industry is doing right now. The career field for light truck and delivery truck drivers is expected to grow more slowly. They expect about 55,000 to be needed by 2026. And so I think in general, just drivers are needed. I mean, that's we're going to continue to need them. We're going to continue to appreciate them and thank them for all they do. And that is something that I don't think is ever going to go away.
No, and I get frustrated. I commute a long ways, and I get frustrated with just cars in general. Commuting. And now that I've been around the BCB Live more and all the safety, I'll watch. And a truck will be doing what he's supposed to, and a car will just cut him off to not go any further than it would have been in front of me.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could drive I could barely drive my car, much less a truck, because that takes, you have to be focused, patience, everything, because they have, 80,000 pounds of stop to where my little 5,000 pound car.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, why did you just do that? You could have the front end of that truck in your back seat. Because, there's barely room for the car, and then they'll switch over and stomp their brake. And I'm like, and so I know
thought process or lack of thought process there.
So I'm like on a daily basis going, those drivers have to wake up thinking it's a new day and more patience. Because whether it's patience at the shipper, patience at the receiver, because they're shorthanded, they're not getting loaded or they're not getting unloaded. Driving all the cars, they're all in a hurry and they're not going any faster than anybody else normally. Just the whole day, they really have a lot of stress on them.
I was talking to a driver a few weeks back, and he was talking about he'd been in the industry for about 30 years now, and he just recently took his spouse with him for a trip for the first time, and it was according to him, he said it was eye-opening for her, and it was something that was very special to him to share with her because he had talked about everything that he had to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and just in general, like that's a part of his life, a big part of his life that he was wanting to share with her. And he said after that trip, they just had a greater appreciation for one another.
Yeah, because a lot of people think, oh, they just sit in a seat all day and they drive down the road. That's their perspective of it. They go from A to B, they get loaded, they're just sitting in a seat all day. How could that be tiring? How could that be stressful?
Oh.
How could, they have all these how could. But if someone that didn't understand rode with them, because, they're like, honey, I'm at home and I'm chasing kids and we're going to ball practice and,
right.
All this. Yes, but it's two totally different stress levels.
Yep.
Because, there's no way I would want to drive a 18-wheeler in downtown Dallas or downtown Cincinnati or, I get all mixed up on all this construction in my car in Dallas, and it says your GPS is screaming, go right, and you're going, but the sign says go left. And, I couldn't imagine having all these tires under me and all this weight to be having to manage around small. And yesterday I had an appointment, so I went through some construction area. And, I was like, oh, my gosh, my car felt like it was, like, up against the walls,
Mm-hmm.
the cement walls. So I was behind a truck, and it felt like he had literally 8 inches on each side because it was almost right up to the white lines. I'm like, there's no way. I would be like, I got to park. Somebody's got to drive through here. I'm just like,
that's why
we're
not
stress.
drivers.
Yeah. That has to be stressful, though.
Oh, yeah. The mental capacity that you have to be able to deal with stuff like that is incredible. We talk a lot, and we've talked about in the past, about physical stressors, emotional stressors, mental stressors, and our drivers definitely have to deal with those mental stressors constantly all day long while they're on the road, and it's important. That's why we want them to take those breaks. That's why we want them to pay attention to themselves and practice self-care, and that's part of safety.
If they go through a stressful situation, they might have to say, I got to pull off the next truck stop and take me a little break.
Mm-hmm.
Call your DM. Let them know, look, this was way stressful. I got to take a little break, get me a soda, and then go back.
Walk around.
You don't realize how a 15-minute break, 30-minute break, even if you just lay in your bunk and don't even get out of your truck, or if you go in, walk around, can kind of cleanse you to be fresh to start out again.
100%. We do that in general. Within the office, we get up from our seat and walk around, walk to go get water. And it helps. It helps your mental faculties. So
yeah.
We'll continue to encourage that. It definitely is a stressful job. And We're going to continue to thank you guys for doing what you do every single day for all of us. Please join us next week on the Lowdown with Sheli Brown. Have a good week.